Larry Walker was raised on ranches in northern New Mexico, earned a degree in range management from New Mexico State University, and served in the U.S. Navy before beginning his career with Oregon BLM. There, Walker served as a range conservationist on the Medford and Prineville districts before moving to the Oregon State Office in Portland. Shortly after his retirement in early 1997, Walker established the Range Biome and RangeNet websites with associated listservs. In this August 2003 interview, Walker spoke about his motivation to provide these online resources.
When a person starts reaching the end of a career, I think it's natural to look back and kind of assess where you've been, where you're going, where things could be going, what's right and what's wrong, and a few things like that. And while I felt that we'd made some progress in some areas, it was painfully slow, and I felt inadequate. And looking towards retired life and what may or may not have been my contribution to the greater good of things, I thought a little bit about what was the single thing, based on my experience, that could be done on BLM lands that would bring about the greatest improvement of the ecosystems, watersheds, wildlife, and all of those things. And it was to get rid of the adverse impacts of grazing. Pure and simple. Essentially all of it is grazed, and grazing is one of the most severe impacts out there. So I planned when I retired to get active in the environmental community, to work towards that. Well, when I retired, I found out that getting active in the environmental community is not all that easy, particularly if you come from a questionable background, like being a BLM range conservationist. So anyway, I pulled together this portfolio of a few things that I had done with some color reproduction and in a loose leaf binder, and I made up, 8 or 10 sets of it, which for one thing was getting kind of expensive. And I started trying to find folks in the environmental community to get a copy to. And some responded, others didn't. And about that time, I also started feeling a little bit of a withdrawal. When you're working within an agency like that, you don't know until it's gone how much information is being fed to you through your inbox and the various things that are going on. So I went ahead and did what I had planned not to do, which was to get onto the internet. And about that time, the cost of websites had come down to about $20 a month. And with a little bit of exploring, I decided, well, now, most of this stuff I've been manually putting together into a portfolio, I could put onto a web page, save myself a whole lot of money, save a whole lot of trees, and maybe get some other people to look at. So I brought up that the Range Biome website, where I initially just put some of my own stuff in there. Then I started thinking, well, there are some other retired range folks around. Maybe we could set up sort of a listserv or something and talk with each other. Well, generally, by the time that a range con has retired from BLM or from the Forest Service, if they are of the persuasion that maybe things weren't done so good and there might be some improvement needed, by the time they retire, they're burned out. And so the last thing that they want to communicate about is range. So by and by, I met folks through the internet, through going to this meeting or that meeting, and so I expanded that thought a little bit and said, well, now if I can't do this with retired folks, how about just doing it with folks who are interested in the management of federal public lands? Because at that time, there was no group that was really focused specifically and primarily on that. So I started RangeNet and started recruiting members using the old National Geographic approach of nomination and invitation and acceptance type of thing. And from there we grew to where we've got a couple of hundred members. A lot of them contribute information, data, opinions, and other things that we post on the RangeNet website, which is getting substantial now. It's something over 250 megabytes of storage, and we get about something over 10,000 unique visitors a month to it from the net. That's not fantastic from internet standards, but it's still substantial, and it's been growing. After RangeNet had been going a couple of years, there were a lot of people on there that I'd never met, and I was sure there were others who had not met others, and so I tossed out the idea, hey, why don't we get together someplace? And I suggested Reno, since I happen to like casinos, and there was enough interest to do it, but along with that interest, I also started reading between the lines assumptions that, hey, this was going to be a more general meeting. So I expanded it, and we had the first RangeNet meeting, RangeNet 2000, in November of 2000 in Reno, Nevada. And as an outgrowth of that, we have had annual RangeNet meetings ever since.